Hello, everybody. This is Mike from Nymphs, Knots, and Nonsense. And I want to tell you about my absolutely secret Stillwater fly that I'm using right now to just absolutely go out and slay fish. Not really, because I let him go. It's just a phrase all the kids use it. But first, two war stories. So the first one is the way that I've been fishing over the past couple of weeks is I'm going out with a boat. Our club pond is 3 acres. And so I'm going on the downwind side of the pond. There's a little bay that's there, and the water is really shallow. It's maybe 4 feet, maybe 2 feet up close to the bank, not very deep at all. And what I'm doing is I'm taking out a boat. We have a crawdad. It's like a bass boat, only a little bit smaller, and it has oars on it. So I'm taking that boat and I'm rowing it out into the bay, a long cast away from the shoreline. So I'm relatively close in the middle of that bay, relatively close to the shoreline, so I can make a single cast and plop a fly within, say, 12 inches of the shoreline. Then I'm putting down 2 anchors. So one in the front of the boat or the bow of the boat, one in the rear of the boat or the stern of the boat, and I'm positioning the boat perpendicular to the wind so that the side of the boat faces into this bay. What that does is it gives me wind at my back in order to make these long casts into that shallow bay. Then I take and tie on my super secret fly and cast into the bay and work from left to right, right to left, in sort of just fanning around that bay, and then do a retrieve. And the retrieve I'm doing is putting the tip of my fly rod 6 inches above the water and doing a little strip, 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 strip. Sometimes I'll do strip, strip, pause, strip, strip, pause. The simplest type of retrieve you could ever imagine, and the fish are hitting it. A lot of times they'll hit it as soon as the fly lands, it sinks, and I start the retrieve, they'll hit it right there. Sometimes they're hitting it on the pause. Sometimes they're hitting it as I start to strip right after the pause. And so last Saturday I went out and I knew I had a friend who was coming and I was going to take them out and catch some fish. But there was another person who was there when I was pushing the boat out because the boat lives at the club. So I was taking the boat and just pushing it out into the water. And this guy had never caught a fish in the pond. He's relatively new to fly fishing. He's fished before, fished for a lot of bass, was relatively new to fishing in ponds and fishing for trout. So he said, "Hey, you want to come out on the boat with me?" I put him in the seat in the bow of the boat, anchored the boat off just like I did. So that way he had the wind coming from behind and he could cast out over free water on the right-hand side. In the meantime, I was casting over my body left-handed, which looked really, really ugly, but it works. And he caught his first fish using my secret fly, using my technique, using the wind in that shallow bay. Then I dropped him off, picked up my friend. We went out. I helped her tie on my secret fly, floating line, floating leader, secret fly. She cast out, took her a little bit. She caught a fish. And then I took another younger guy, dropped her off, picked up another younger guy, took him out, did exactly the same technique. He caught his first fish on the lake. So that was pretty good. I was 3 for 3 with beginners. Pretty good feeling about that. Myself personally, I picked up 8 fish that day. And a related story. So I used to live in Oregon. I used to live in Eugene and Springfield and Albany and Corvallis in Oregon. So I lived in the Willamette Valley and I fished Gold Lake a lot and I fished Davis Lake a handful of times. So one fall, and it was right around October, a good 20 years ago, I drove up and I fished Davis Lake. And Davis Lake has several creeks that feed it. I went into the arm of one of the creeks, right where there's a big bay and then it narrows up until it's just as wide as a creek. And what happened was there were kokanee that were staging there. They're all sort of schooling up, getting ready to do their transition into spawning colors and then swim up into that creek and spawn. And so I found this school of kokanee and I went out in my float tube. So I had a big U-boat, and got in my float tube, went out, and I looked down and I saw the water was kind of dark. So I said, okay, that looks like a school of fish. Cast out with my secret fly, twitched it through that school of fish and just picked up fish after fish after fish. Sometimes this happened. It's happened maybe 24 times in my life where I've just caught so many fish that I can't, so many big fish that I can't pick my arms up over my head. I call those another lousy day in paradise, first world problems. I'm sure nobody has any sympathy for me. But I caught fish. And when I came and landed my float tube after a day of catching these fish, it started to get towards evening, so I just kicked into shore. There's a group of people there who had to actually run up to see what fly I was using because it was so effective. And so I'm going to tell you now, my secret Stillwater fly is a size 14 gold-ribbed hare's ear. It's incredibly common. Everybody has these. You have these in your fly box. I almost guarantee it. If you don't have one of those, try a size 14 pheasant tail nymph. Same, but different. The reason why the hare's ear is so effective is because A, it looks a lot like a Calabatus mayfly nymph. Okay? They live in a lot of still waters. They're a bit of a swimming nymph. Number two is that they also look like a scud. So it's a really good imitator of two different species, two different completely types of creatures. One is a crustacean, the other is an insect, but they all live in still water. In fact, those two species are, I'd add chironomids in there as a third. But those two species are incredibly common as a food source for fish in still waters, and that's why it works. But there's one more secret that I add to that fly, and that is something that I've been doing since nigh on to the last millennium when I first got off active duty in the Army and moved to Oregon. And that is, I bought a 10-foot clear sink tip. So today we have midge tips and we have long midge tips, and we have like the shorter clear sink tips are usually 3 feet or 7 feet. But back in 1999, so 1998, 1999, we didn't really have these shorter sink tips that you could go buy in the stores. And so I started fishing with this 10-foot clear sink tip. They're still around. You can still buy them if you look around in a lot of the shops. And I would take that line and I'd put on maybe a 5 or 6 foot section of tippet. Maybe if I used a little bit longer leader, I would go to an intermediate size, so say a 12-pound 12-pound monofilament, so like a 0x, and then on the end of that, I'd put a 2 to 4x fluorocarbon now. But that sink tip gets the fly down to where the fish are at. And I found that a lot of times the fish will cruise around at a depth of 1 to 3 feet looking for emergers, looking for scuds, especially when the water is right in that 2 feet deep to 6 feet deep. That clear sink tip works incredibly well. That's actually the secret of the rig. It's not really about the fly. So now that you know my secret fly, go out, give it a try, catch some fish. If you see me on the club pond, come up, say hi. I always have an extra hare's ear for you. Having said all that, I'm Mike. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you on the water, and I will see you in the next video.